Welcome to r/A-holetax, where karma is swift and expensive. Some years ago, when I was 23, I bought my first house. It was a small townhome in a neighborhood of other townhomes. About 6 months after I moved in, my next door neighbor, whose house was physically joined to mine, moved away and sold his unit to some parents who bought it for their college-age son. They were from the other side of the state, and there was a college branch campus just down the road. Several things quickly became apparent. We'll call the son Greg. 1. Greg had zero life skills because his parents were terrible. 2. Greg was dumber than a bag of hammers and wasn't going to graduate college. 3. Greg had no common sense and even less consideration for other people. I got along with Greg, but in his first semester of school, he managed to get the cops called out to his unit 6 times because he had parties every night of the week. I kept asking him to just calm down a little bit, but it never worked. One morning, I came out to my year-old car to find the back bumper smashed. Greg's sucky car had matching damage on the front. When confronted, he admitted that he was drunk and hit my car. Since he was my neighbor and I didn't want to make waves, I stupidly got my car fixed using my own money because Greg promised to pay me back the $800 it cost to fix it. Spoiler alert, both Greg and his mother gave me the runaround. I ended up calling his father, who refused to give me his insurance info and told me, "That's why you have insurance," and hung up the phone. I was livid. I ended up calling my insurance carrier and they were able to look up Greg. Not only did Greg's dad's insurance totally pay out, but I later found out that Greg's dad almost lost his job over it. As it turned out, his father was an adjuster for a major US insurance company. When they got wind of what happened, they were pretty upset, but that's not the revenge part. Greg failed out of college 3 times and moved back across the state to live with his parents. His folks were too cheap to hire an actual real estate agent, so they put a handwritten sign in the front yard and had a local relative show the house. I'd just gotten laid off from my job, so I had nothing but time. Every time I saw the relative's car show up, I'd throw on ripped jeans, a stained wife beater, grab a Miller High Life and a Marlboro Gold, and throw in a set of plastic redneck buck teeth. I'd walk outside and loudly ask the prospective buyer, "Are you gonna be my new neighbor?" and then sip my beer and scratch my balls. If that didn't elicit a reaction, I'd double down with something to the effect of, "Would you like to see my gun collection / meth lab / hooker?" The relative hated me, and the prospective buyer usually scurried away without looking at the house. They started getting crafty and tried to show the house at weird hours, hoping I wasn't home. But I usually was, and I loved surprising them. After almost a year, they finally hired a real estate agent, and I did the same thing to her clients. She actually showed up at my door one day, almost in tears, with a plate of cookies begging me to stop. We ended up talking for a while, and I told her what happened. She lamented that the owners were the worst clients she had ever had, and she just wanted to sell it and be done already. Out of respect for her, I quit and let her do her job. They ended up selling the house 18 months later at a massive loss, not including their douchebag son's student loans, lol. Then OP adds some more details and an update. Some things I left out. When I say Greg trashed the house, I'm not embellishing at all. The place was only 10 years old at the time, and the previous owner had done a lot of work to sweeten the pot for the sale. It had new wood floors, paint, appliances, and bathroom fixtures. I was in there a handful of times, and before he left, most of the walls had holes. The upstairs toilet was filled to the rim and had been that way for months. The glass door in the oven was broken, the floors were destroyed. Greg told me he and his roommate liked to play golf in the house, and the concrete slab in the garage was being eaten away and smelled awful because some girl barfed during beer pong and they never cleaned it up. When he moved out, his parents had to hire a contractor / professional cleaning crew to fix the place up. They tried selling it as is at $10K over market value, but that didn't go over so well. These people were effing delusional. I have no idea why, but one of the times they showed the house, they left all the doors and windows open for a week. It was in the middle of winter. My friend and I, seeing an opportunity for more petty revenge, bought a giant bag of cat food from the dollar store, which we proceeded to throw in the open doors and windows. All of the neighborhood strays and some raccoons had a nice feast that night. The cleaning crew was back a week later. The handwritten for sale sign got defaced. A lot. I kept a bunch of Sharpies in my garage, and when my friends came over, they'd write stuff on it. Sometimes they drew dicks, other times they'd write stuff like, "Only selling to convicted pedophiles." The for sale sign had both parents' personal cell numbers as well as their home phone number written on it. My friends would prank call them constantly. Nothing threatening or illegal, just annoying stuff, like offering them a live baby in exchange for the house. I used to sign the numbers up for spam phone calls. I know for a fact they later changed their home phone number, but I don't know about the cell numbers. Wow, they really should have just paid the $800. Our next Reddit post is from Suspiciously Robotic. My store sells scratch tickets, and one of the types of scratch tickets we sell has 3 very special prizes, where you can win 5,000 Norwegian krone per month for 5 years, 10,000 per month for 10 years, or 20,000 krone per month for 20 years. That converts to about 500 USD a month, 1,000 USD a month, or 2,000 USD a month. Each of these having a space of their own where you can win them. Yesterday, after a pretty busy day, Christmas rush, woo, an old woman came up to me with one of them while I was working the register. The uncooperative customer walks up to me, handing me her used scratch ticket. "I'd like to collect my prize." Of course, let me have a look at it. She hands me the ticket and I scan it in. "Ah, you won 50 kroner. Would you like to cash it out, or would you like a—" "No, I won the 5,000 per month." Let me double check. I check the card, seeing that the prize section of the square she won on says 50. Well, you see, the way this ticket works— "No, I got 2 identical symbols. I'm getting 5,000 per month." I sigh. Listen, I can call the people we get our scratch tickets from. "I'm going to cash out my prize elsewhere. Maybe someone else actually knows what they're doing." The uncooperative customer takes the scratch ticket and leaves in a huff, and I go to fetch the assistant manager, explaining what just happened to her. "You already scanned it in?" "Yeah." "Well, that means she can't cash it out anywhere else, because she's already cashed it out here. So, what do we do about that?" The assistant manager opens the register, pulls out a 50, and hands it to me. "Congrats, you just won 50 bucks. Man, I would pay money to see the look on that lady's face when she goes to another store and gets told, "Sorry ma'am, this ticket isn't valid anymore." Our next Reddit post is from Dweest McKendo. This happened today. I work in a quaint wee pub/restaurant in Scotland. Very family-oriented kind of place, so we make most of our cash money on food, although we do have a wide variety of drinks as well. The back shift started off pretty well. I work the bar, so drink checks are put through by the waitstaff for table service, usually before meals are ordered. Pretty standard for most restaurants, I'd imagine. Now, this table had been seated about 10 minutes before I started my shift and had ordered 1 round of drinks for 3 wastes of oxygen. A bottle of Sauvignon Blanc and a glass each. Keep in mind that Sauv is our house white wine and is by far the cheapest at £10.95, and every bottle of Sauv is the same. I'm almost a half hour into my shift and a check comes through for another bottle for their table. Piece of piss, no problem. On the tray and out the pass, boom. They order another bottle and 3 meals about 25 minutes later. By this point, each waste of oxygen has had about a bottle of wine in about an hour. Still no issues until they order another bottle for the table just as their food arrives. Waitstaff 1 takes over. "That's not the wine we've been drinking. The wine we had looked much paler." "I'm really sorry about that. I'll ask the bar to change it for you. Bear with me." So the waitstaff bounces back with the bottle and asks for a change. "Is everything alright?" "Nah, the lady said the wine they've been drinking all night didn't look like this. Said it was paler." I'll have a look at their bill, but it's been the same bottle going out their table since they came in. Sure enough, it was the same bottle. Also, they had the same bottle still sitting in the cooler at their effing table. These Karens. So the waitstaff takes a copy of their bill over and breaks it down. Are they happy? Do they understand? Do they get it? They've been drinking the paler wine the whole night, or so they screech. The paler wine is our Pinot Grigio, which is about £17.95 a bottle. This isn't uncommon for folks to try and get away with a pricier drink for free or cheaper by claiming that's what they've been drinking the whole time, especially after a few scoops. What they seem to forget is that they're wasted and I'm sober. The waitstaff attempts to explain that the Sauv is absolutely what they've been drinking the whole time they've been there. "Excuse me, but you're embarrassing me and putting me off my food, so just get the wine, thank you." And throws her hand in the waitstaff's face. The poor lassie came over to me at the bar, tears welling up in her eyes, almost completely defeated after I've just watched all this. I never heard what was said until after, but I had a fair idea. No effing problem. Pass the check. I went back on the till, changed every bottle of wine they'd ordered to the more expensive one, since they were certain that that's what they'd been drinking, and ramped their bill up by, what we call in Scotland, a metric F-ton. They ordered an extra bottle for after their meal and asked for the bill at the table. I told waitstaff if there was any issues concerning the price to come and speak to me. All 3 wastes of oxygen were boiling mad and came screeching over like their feet were made of polystyrene. But were made to pay since that's what they'd been drinking the whole time they'd been there. And even took the courtesy of showing them their previous bill again, reminding them of the money they'd have saved if they'd just remained civil and not berated my staff. It's the little things. Then Clapham down in the comments adds this. Excuse me, are you ladies from Scotland? It's Wales, you idiots! Wales! Oh, my apologies. Are you Wales from Scotland? Our next Reddit post is from For F's Sake. I used to work for a large multinational in a one-man department. The company was responsible for delivering the largest project that country's national resources company had to offer. This is billions in revenues and tens of millions of dollars in profit every year. The department was created for me. I wasn't required in the project, but the project manager knew me from before and just wanted to keep me in the team, so he created this department and position. Fast forward 3.5 years. The project manager is now retiring, and so is his deputy. His deputy is the one who handles all commercial negotiations. Before the project manager leaves and the new one comes in, he nominated me as the deputy project manager. Enter the new project manager, or as I like to call him, spineless racist bastard. This guy hated decisions. He was running a project with thousands of personnel and he would go weeks without a single decision. Every question from the 27 department heads would be sent to some committee for deliberations and demise. One by one, the department heads started avoiding him and coming to me for decisions. I had a very tough time balancing progress with perceived sabotage. I would usually suggest a decision to Bastard before he would announce it and take the credit. Things were moving, and I was only interested in doing a great job at my new position and make record profits for the company. A year working with Bastard, it's time for my first appraisal. The appraisal goes as planned. Exceeded expectations, numbers were up, nothing to complain. This meant I would get my annual bonus and a measly salary increment. Once the project manager appraises his reports, they do the same with theirs. Except that I see one of my reports had his appraisal done before I talked to him. Apparently, Bastard had done his appraisal without me in the loop. Confused, I approached Bastard about this and he wouldn't talk about it. He would start talking tangentially as soon as I asked a pointed question. Ultimately, I ran out of patience and time. I went to HR and asked if this was usual. I'm pretty sure it wasn't. Not only did HR confirm this to be the first they'd ever heard of this, they started connecting the dots for me. Apparently, my direct report and Bastard hail from the same company in a kingdom which is anything but united. I knew they were countrymen, but they were actually neighbors. Apparently, Bastard has been saying that my nationality shouldn't be allowed to handle so much money and power. That it was their type's God-given right to rule over us. They referred to my origin country being exploited by his country in the past. This pissed me off, but it was all hearsay at this time. However, a couple of weeks passed by and I was notified by HR that based on my performance, I will not be getting a raise this year and will only get 25% of my bonus. I was enraged and went to Bastard to understand what happened. He wasn't there. I went to HR. They've worked with me for 5+ years now, so they know and trust me. They revealed that Bastard had made a decision to move $24,000 of what I would have received over to my report and thus the appraisal rating and follow-up monetary decision. Given this, I was very furious and I called up Bastard's boss in a different continent. To her credit, she gave me her ear and then said she talked to him about this and called me back. She never did. But next day, Bastard calls me and says that I should have talked to him first before calling the boss. He also implies that he had full authority over this decision and his boss couldn't do anything because she was too busy. As soon as he said this, I said that I quit and won't be coming in again. I put in my papers immediately and wrote in that I would pay in for my notice period if need be. I also left the company phone and laptop at the desk and drove out. The next morning, I left the country. When I left, we were in the middle of negotiating a contract variation that would have given us $2.5 million extra that year. Pure profits. All discussions were done, and it only needed the client's signature. Since we were very sure of it, it was reported in our numbers as well. Fast forward 3 months, I get a call from Bastard's boss begging me to come back. Apparently, they fired Bastard due to missing profits as the client didn't sign the variation order, which was time sensitive. They wanted me to come back as deputy PM. I told her that I'll call her back, and never did. Our next Reddit post is from Pugnuts. I was getting back into my car when the woman parked diagonal to me pushed her cart into the middle of our 4 cars and got back into her car to leave despite being merely 30 feet from the corral. She left a $6 block of butter in her cart, which she'd have noticed if she wasn't a butthole who leaves carts in the parking lot. I'm currently using my free butter to make fancy grilled cheese sandwiches, which some people might prefer to call melts. Yes, I brought the cart over to the corral. I bet those are going to be the most delicious grilled cheese sandwiches OP has ever had. Our next Reddit post is from Person Dude. I provide a service at special events. Our contract says that if we stay overnight, we can charge $50 per diem for food, unless the client provides 3 square meals a day. I don't frequently charge the $50 per day because most clients have some sort of post-event catered food. Then I grab a snack on the way home at a grocery store. Not a big deal. This weekend, I was working with a real gem of a human being who was petty, rude, and nitpicking my work. I was truly proud of how it'd gone. It'd been nearly perfect and people were saying so, except for the client. After the event, people were leaving and it was clear they'd ordered too much food. I went to grab a plate and helped myself to the catered meal for over 200 people. Technically, I should have asked, but it's common in our industry for that food to be up for grabs at that point. The client stopped me and informed me that food was for her staff only, when there were less than 10 people left. Really? You've got tens of trays of food left over and you'd rather throw it away than let me have a plate? Fine, I'll just buy food on the way home. But since I supplied all my own meals and stayed 2 nights, that's 2 times $50 per diem. A $100 butthole tax that you would have avoided with a single plate of food that you already paid for. It took a lot of self-control to put per diem and not butthole tax on the invoice. That was r/A-holetax, and if you don't hit that like button, then I hope karma makes you pay the a-hole tax.